Keir Starmer has now presided, since he came to power on July the 5th, in the time frame, a record 25,000 small boat arrivals since he came to power on July the 5th. So after impetuously axing the £700 million Rwanda scheme, Labour has no deterrence. Their smash the gangs strategy is absolutely not working, mainly on account of they haven't smashed a single people smuggling gang, not a single one. And still they come, and the weather's starting to get better. This is going to get worse and worse and worse. This is going to be the worst year on record, and this government has got no deterrence and is doing nothing whatsoever about it except headline chasing. The Border Security Command. We gave these people at the Border Security Command £175 million worth of high-tech equipment. We hired a guy called Martin Hewitt, used to be a top copper, for 200 grand a year. This has been in operation since July. Nothing. Smashing the gangs won't work anyway, but worth noting, if they smashed since July the 5th, 100 people smuggling gangs, we would still have the crisis because the migrants are still coming. But it's worth noting that actually the number of people smuggling gangs they've smashed is zero, zilch, not a single one. So still they come, and nothing's going to stop them. We don't have deterrence, do we, Russell? We have encouragements. We offer them free hotels, free food, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, free everything. It is ludicrous.
There will be 50,000 undocumented migrants on small boats landing on the shores of Britain this year. Last year it was about 40,000. I predict this year it will be about 50,000. If they all came at the same time, and I know we've said this before, but it's worth repeating, we would call it, guess what, an invasion. But because there's only 200 or 300 a day, couple of thousand a week, we don't call it that. But
I do.
It is an invasion.
I do.
Particularly as we
Who doesn't call it an invasion?
Well, no, with the left for a start.
Well, yeah, I call it an invasion.
I call it an invasion.
They say that's the language we can't use. Well,
it's far right, apparently.
If we want to use that language, we will.
It is an invasion, particularly when they've got their hands out, particularly when they are, some of them, coming here to cause us harm, and when most of them are anonymous and undocumented. But I have to say, Kev, I've got to take issue with you. You're being very unfair about Keir Starmer smashing the gangs. He has smashed 2 gangs, albeit one of them was a bloke on a beach in Bodrum selling lilos.
So that's not a gang.
And then there was another one today that I heard on the news. A guy with a shed in Rochester that has been convicted, apparently, because he was harbouring one boat that he was apparently renting out to gangs. I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek. But they are the only 2 people in 8 months that can ever be loosely and not loosely constituted as gangs that Keir Starmer has smashed. It's pathetic.
Yeah, and just to get this in context, folks, this is what it's costing you. This is a snapshot. So last week, in the great scheme of things, 404 coming over. There are 2, 3, 4 days where nobody came over, but it was one day where I think about 163 came over. One day only about 4 made it, but drips and drabs all week. So the total last week was 404 came across illegally to be welcomed into the warm embrace of sucker Britain, as we give them everything they've ever dreamed of. Those 404 migrants over the next year, because trust me, they will all be here, not just for the next year, they'll be here for at least 10 years, and that's only talking about the ones that are finally rejected. There won't be many of them. Most of them can rest assured they are now here in Britain, and we let about 75% of all asylum seekers stay, so they'll almost certainly stay. So last week, 404, quite a light week for illegal crossings across the Channel from France to Britain. Those 404 migrants will cost you, me, Russell, all British taxpayers over the next year. Ready? £16,160,000 for the next year. 16. So 1 week's worth, light week, 16 million. There will be weeks coming up in the spring and the summer where 2,000 will come across. So that will be, you'll be talking there about, 60 million worth of migrants coming over in a single week. The cost, Russell, is astronomical.
Well, and I hate to do this, but if we then extend that, there was a study that was done, I think it was in Denmark, which looked at the total lifetime cost of an illegal migrant coming into whichever country in Europe. It's pretty much the same everywhere. And the lifetime cost of an illegal migrant is £400,000. So your 404 just now, multiply that by 400,000, that's 161.6 million pounds just in 1 week that the taxpayer is footing the bill for.
Some of them may become very, very useful citizens.
Well, there's lots of engineers and doctors, of course, on those
they're all engineers, doctors, highly qualified, God knows what, computer scientists.
Yeah.
They're not, mostly. They're nearly all just young blokes who want to get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not blaming them, but they're economic migrants. They're not escaping war, and they're costing us a fortune. We've got about 100,000 asylum seekers here at the moment. Our annual bill is around about 10, 11 billion pounds just to maintain them. And weirdly, Russell, Calamity Cooper, the hapless Home Secretary, she's trying to sort of change the goalpost. They no longer seem to be saying we're going to solve this crisis, we're going to stop the migrants. They're basically saying we're going to get them out of hotels and put them into much cheaper accommodation, detention centres, or shall we say accommodation centres, because they're not ever detained. Well, that's not what we're asking. And in any case, guess what? While they're busy saying we're going to get these migrants out of these expensive hotels and get them into cheaper accommodation centres, guess what they're busy doing? They have been busy since January the 1st, commandeering more and more, drum roll, hotels.
Yeah.
So they're saying they're going to get these migrants out of the hotels, but actually they're commandeering more hotels, so more and more of these migrants who are coming over day in, day out are being put into hotels at great cost to us. As I say, each one of them costs us on average £40,000 a year. £40,000. So you do the maths, as they say in America, the math. It is astronomical, and this government is doing nothing about it. Its policy now, Mark Russell, seems to be, let's see if we can talk about Ukraine, let's see if we can talk about Donald Trump, let's see if we can talk about anything except the migrant crisis. Let's try and pretend it's not happening.
Yes, distraction tactics and gaslighting, of course. And obviously the reason that Yvette Cooper wants to be seen to be solving the problem of migrants in hotels is because that was one of the things that they bashed the government about before they took office. But of course, saving 40 or 50 quid a night on a refugee Premier Inn and putting these individuals somewhere else, not only does it not really save any money, because they're still getting benefits, they're still entitled to NHS on the
They get 45 quid a week.
Well, they get that and an iPhone, and they get free dentistry, which of course we don't get, and certainly pensioners don't get.
They get an iPhone, yeah?
Yeah. Of course they do. And there are some councils, of course, now that are moving motions to give them free travel around their borough and their district, because of course, you know, they think that they should go off and try and find jobs. Well, I've got news from that. An asylum seeker isn't allowed to go and have a job, but what they are doing is using free travel to go and work in the black market, on the grey market, you know, on building sites for cash and so on. So that's basically what we're fueling. And of course, I mean, dare I venture that some of them get into criminality, Kev, would you believe?
Yeah, I mean, this is madness, folks. This is madness, folks. We, on the day one of his lousy administration, that half-wit Starmer ripped up the Rwanda scheme and said it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. Well, you know, and they were proudly. They then went on to proudly, Calamity Cooper, Yvette Cooper, proudly revealed what we didn't actually know. We thought that something like 240 million, 300 million had been wasted on the Rwanda scheme. Well, in came Yvette said, no. It was 700 million. Well, if it was 700 million, you should have been all the more careful about not just chucking the entire scheme down the drain.
Yeah, they should have cancelled it.
You know, if you spent 700 million, it doesn't matter if it was a different administration. What about British taxpayers? What about the money that the Tories made us spend on this scheme? You people in Labour should have given it a go. To just dispense with, write off £700 million of British taxpayers' money that was spent on the Rwanda scheme was reckless, juvenile, infantile and frankly pathetic, and we are now reaping the rewards of your stupidity, Starmer, with this ongoing daily invasion, because they're not going to not come when we don't have any deterrence. You know, what we should be saying to them is, once you get here, you broke our laws, we'll detain you, we'll convict you and we'll deport you. Detain, deport. That should be our policy. Instead, our policy is, oh, once you're here, and what do you need? Oh, money? Food? Free doctors, free dentists? Oh, of course. Oh, you'd like free lawyers to fight your case to stay? Well, consider it done. You know, and by the way, did you notice this? The Labour government now wants to raise the amount of money that each asylum seeker gets in terms of legal aid. They want more money to go to asylum seekers so they can successfully fight their cases to stay. This government, folks, loves migrants. Why aren't they solving the migrant crisis? Because they like the migrant crisis. They like these people coming here. They still believe in no borders, no border security. And what you've got here is a covert policy to continue the migrant crisis, to make it worse and worse and worse, because that fits right in with that fool, that sixth form student Keir Starmer's belief system.